So here we're going to go over a couple of options that you guys can use instead of using clipping planes to make your sections in your axon metrics. So I really don't like clipping planes. I find them very restrictive and I find them really destructive within your actual file. So I would recommend, if you're ever going to do a section cut, specifically like you guys are doing for your axonometric drawings, that you just go ahead and make the cut in your actual model and actually take a sort of slice out of it and make it so that sort of this part of it disappears. So let's say we want to take a section cut that goes straight through in this direction. So what I would actually go through here and do is I would extrude this all the way through, and I would go ahead and do a Boolean split. Obviously, if you're not, let's go ahead and do this as if you're not working with a total solid, which a lot of you won't be. So if we just do a normal split, so object to split with, we go ahead and delete that, and then we go ahead and take our object like that. So now in order to take a section of this, you could outline all of those pieces, or we could type the command section. So the objects for the sections are going to be just this one object for now. The start of the section is going to be that line. The end of the section will be the end of that line. And then that will give you actual curves here. So then maybe we make another layer. We call this section cut. And we go ahead and make that red. And then we change objects there. So then we would actually have our section cut there. The reason that I like doing it this way is because you're not relying on a clipping plane that you can actually move back and forth. You're actually drawing the section as your actual model, which I much prefer, so that you actually know exactly where the section cut's happening. What this also will allow you to do is take more complex sections. So let's say we want to also, let's say we want to also take one in this direction. So we sort of want to cut away. Let's say we want to cut away a chunk here, so we're not going to extrude this all the way through. Or let's say we want to extrude it to there. Here we can duplicate this edge. Then we could extrude that off in this direction. And then we can actually run a trim instead. So let's try trim this time. And we'll trim off that corner. And then what we can do to get these curves is if we do an intersect. So we could intersect those two, will give us that edge, so we can add that to our section cut. And then we can intersect those two, that'll give us that edge, so that's our section cut there. And then we can actually go ahead and delete both of those. We can delete all the lines on the inside. And then we're starting to construct here now a sort of fully cut edge. Obviously you would want to go back into here and probably add information as to where that happens. So if we have our perpendicular snap-on, we can sort of construct that like that. So we can add a lot more detail this way. So this will allow you to do a lot more complex section cuts. It won't restrict you to a single plane. It'll also allow you the sort of freedom to actually model this thing as a section, instead of the clipping plane, which is this sort of arbitrary plane that's in your file that you don't have a whole lot of control over. So I would recommend moving a little bit more in this direction as far as your axos. Obviously, before you take a chunk like this out of your actual model, you're going to want to copy your model over so that you're not destroying your original file, or you're going to want to do a save as, so that you make sure that you don't overwrite that file, because this is a destructive way of using your model, but I think it's a lot more effective. Another thing it does is it's going to remove a lot of information from your file, so it'll make your file size a lot smaller, and it'll make you less likely to crash.